Yay.
All right, Girl Talk listeners. Y'all know what time it is. It's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you know it's time to get the discussion going. And once again, you guys, if you are just now tuning in and you missed it, today we have our special guest in the building, Minister Georgia Bryce. And she is the CEO of Building According to Pattern.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So those of you, reminding you again, we are also live on Facebook through Georgia Bryce, her Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And can you just go ahead and just introduce yourself and just tell the listeners about you?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say a very, very special thank you to you and to Kim for having me being a part of this awesome experience. Absolutely. Wise talk, girl talk. Yes. I love that whole concept of girl talk. This is where we all get together and we get down, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So as you mentioned, my name is Georgia Bryce. I want to say hi to all those people that are now tuning in on my Facebook page. I'm not close to my phone, but hi guys. My name is Georgia Bryce. I am you said Chief Executive Officer, but it really is the Chief Executive Manager of Building According to Pattern. And here's why. I've always said it every time I have to do a presentation. When I incorporated my business, I deliberately had that put down as being the Chief Executive Manager because the CEO of the company, Building According to Pattern, is my Heavenly Father. Yes. Wow. So I'm very wise enough to take the pressure of running an organization off of myself. I put it on him. So all I do is whatever instructions he has to run the business, I'm the person in the earth that's making sure that it goes according to pattern.
That's right.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
I like that. And you guys, today she is going to be discussing self-discovery, purpose, and also thinking and acting like a leader. So I just want you guys to just open up your spirits because I know that you're going to be empowered by the end of today's discussion. I'm already inspired. We've only been talking for like maybe 15 minutes.
Yep.
And I mean, I just feel a special release of the anointing that's going to take place today.
Amen.
For those of you who maybe want to start your business, I feel a release in here already. So just, just open up and just get ready to receive.
Awesome. All
right. So just go ahead and just go ahead. I just want you to flow.
Okay. All right. Again, I want to thank you so much for having me on board at Girl Talk. I was happy when I got the invitation. I remember that one of my friends, Anita Johnson, was one of your previous guests, and she had a lot to say. I watched what was happening when she was here, and I was pretty blown away by the content that you bring to your audience. And so because you bring subject matter that's very, very important and life transforming, when I got the invitation from you to come in, I said absolutely, I would love to be a part of it. Again, my name is Georgia Bryce. I'm the Chief Executive Manager of an organization that's called Building According to Pattern. It's an organization that was incorporated back in 2013, and it really is geared towards empowering others to discover their own unique blueprint, their personal authority, and then guiding them into building their lives on that basis. It really represents my own personal experience because when I gave birth to that organization, I was going through hell. and any vision that is worthwhile, it is going to cost you something. My background really is environmental science. I came here from Jamaica. I'm assuming everybody has picked up on my accent by now, but I came here back in 1998 for school, and I earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in environmental engineering. And then I went on to get a master's degree in environmental science, the bachelor's, and then I got an environmental engineering back in 2006. And so for a while I worked in the environmental industry, but I would say probably around, I started working as an environmental engineer back in about 2007. And I'd say maybe 3 months into my job, I found myself driving down 826, busted out crying and not knowing why I was crying. And then it dawned on me that I had spent so many years pursuing something pursuing courses of study, pursuing jobs that really didn't mirror what I wanted to do with my life. And in that moment, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So I would say for a good 5 years, I went through this intense experience of just struggling with depression, struggling with being unfulfilled, struggling with being dissatisfied, didn't know where I was coming, where I was going. And I literally cried every day when I was going to my job. And it wasn't because of my job. The people were wonderful. The job was wonderful. I worked as an engineer, so I was getting good money. Right. The problem was I was not satisfied. And so at age 30, I really started thinking death. And it wasn't a case that I was going to commit suicide. It was more of a matter of, if this was what reaching the heights of success meant, I'd reached the top of it. I was working a good job. I was making money. I had a nice car. I bought my own home. All of that stuff was already in place. So these are the trappings of success that the world says that's what success is. Right. But at the end of the day, I was miserable. And it got so bad to the point one night, I remember, it was a Friday night. I remember actually getting up, not even Friday night, probably around 2 o'clock that Saturday morning. And I started going through my bank accounts online to make sure that I had beneficiaries on all of them, because I was ready to die. Wow. I really was. And I remember saying to God, I'm not married and I don't have any children, so I don't have to worry too much about, well, I need to be around for my kids, blah, 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 blah. But I really was setting things in order to die. Now, I'm sitting here, so it means that it didn't work out the way it was planned, but
thank God for that.
Thank God.
and I see we have a listener, Brittany says, Lord, me too. I know the feeling. Unfulfilling job.
There's so many people out there who struggled with that. And so in the midst of all of that, it was like I was being placed in a pressure cooker to get me from where I was to where I am now. And so as a result of that experience, I gave birth to this organization that's called Building According to Pattern. And so during that time frame, I got involved with a mentoring program that was being hosted by the late Dr. Miles Monroe from the Bahamas. I went through that program for 3 years. And after I came out of that program, not only did I go back to school to take on a career pathway that had nothing to do with my background. So imagine, I'm moving from environmental science, environmental engineering to marriage and family therapy. They're literally the opposite sides of a coin, because engineers are naturally black and white, logical thinking, and I'm like that, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. On the flip side, therapists are more emotional, more empathic. All of that stuff has to come out. So I'm being placed in an environment to do something that I had no knowledge of, no background of. But going through that 3 years of processing in that mentoring program caused me to realize that this is what I was designed to do. All of my natural, my inherent gifts, my talents, my passions, my abilities, my bent, all of that was moving me towards interfacing with people, helping them to, whether it's managing their marriages or managing their relationships, whether it's getting in touch with themselves, etc., etc. And so I went through that process, came out of it, started my own business, went back to school, graduated last year as a marriage and family therapist. But as we're getting into this discussion about the whole process of self-discovery, because that's what I actually was going through. During that phase of me going through that mentoring program, the whole concept of self-discovery was really what I was walking through. Self-discovery really is about discovering the real you. Right. That's really what it is. There are versions of us that exist. You put somebody in a different environment, and in each environment you put that person. If this person has not yet discovered him or her true self, they're going to mirror the environment. So in church, they're one kind of a person. In school, they're another kind of a person. At home, on the job. They take on, it's almost like a chameleon that takes on the color of the environment that it's in. And never ever manifesting its true self. And so there was a version of Georgia Bryce that existed as a scientist. There was a version of Georgia Bryce that existed as an engineer. And if I had just stayed right there, I probably would have died. Who knows? But because I was able to go through that process of self-discovery, I was able to emerge becoming the person that I now am. And the only reason why I'm sitting in front of you is because I took that journey. In the last 6 years, every person that I've met over the course of the last 6 years is as a result of that journey. Every arena I've found myself in is as a result of that journey. Me being able to do the things that I do is a result of that journey. So when we talk about self-discovery simply is discovering yourself. No, it's not as easy as I'd like to put it, because when I had to go through that whole process, what I started finding that there were portions of me that I thought was me when it wasn't. I found that I was being the person that I was being shaped by societal expectations. You're running into family traditions. So you'll find there are people who they've probably grown up in families where, you know, the engineer is there, the father's an engineer, the mother's a nurse, blah, blah, blah. The kids come, what are they expected to do?
The same.
They expected to do the same thing. So no, there's no way you could go to your parents and say, well, I'm thinking of becoming an artist, or, you know, I'm thinking of becoming no. Family expectations, family tradition says this is the trajectory we've always followed, and you are going to follow the same pathway. All the other dreams and passions and aspirations and the things that you're naturally good at, your gifts and your talents, because they're all there. They're all indicative of where you need to be going with your life. They're all indicative of the blueprint. But all these other factors around us, culture, the dominant story, what sells. I remember when I said I was going to go back to school for marriage and family therapy, one person literally said to me, well, you probably need to start saving your money because there's no money to be made in family therapy. Wow. Why would you leave engineering to go do family therapy? Tell you what, she was absolutely right. It's a huge distinction being an engineer and a family therapist in terms of money.
Money-wise.
Yeah. No, if I had reduced myself to money, oh, absolutely, I would never have done what I did. Yeah. But when I discovered myself, I realized that I am very good at listening. I'm very good at giving solid advice and counseling. I'm very good at helping people discover their own passions because I'm also a personal and professional development coach. I'm very good at helping people discover their own personal authority, revealing their own leadership gifts, strengthening them in those areas. So if I had just limited myself to just thinking, well, I have to go where the dominant story says this is where the money is at, this is where the prestige is at, I would never have left where I was to become the person that I know I am. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But the thing that, you know, I liked about, like, with my family, I can't really say that, you know, I dealt with the same, oh, you have to follow. Because my mom, she's a nurse. And then my sister, she's a nurse. However, I love to sing. And I do art. So I was like, you know, Mom, I'm going to school for art. And she was like, okay, if that's what you want to do, you could go ahead and do that. Just do whatever you feel that you're passionate about. However, you have those other people that be like, art, you know, that can't sell, and
absolutely,
this and that, and this and that. You know, and it's like, you have to be grounded. Like, you have to be confident with yourself, knowing that, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm gonna do this, and guess what, God, as long as you're in the midst of it, then I know that you'll take care of it. Because if God doesn't want you to be in it, He'll let you know.
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. I believe the biggest challenge that you're going to find as you're going through that process is you are going to run into fear of your own personal insecurities as well as what others are saying around you. And I think one of the greatest challenges for me as I was going through that journey, and I still am going through that journey, I don't think it ever ends until you die, but is everything that I knew to be me started falling off. Everything that defined my life. And so many people find themselves being defined by certain things. You're defined by the fact that you're a wife, or you're defined by the fact that you're a mother. You're defined by things that are sometimes temporary. And if those are the things that gives you your identity, then what happens if those things change? Then it means you lose yourself. You know, so that was one of the things that I know it was a very fearful time for me going through that process. But as I was going through that process, I started to realize that all the things on the outside that were defining me weren't necessarily true. They were factual, but they weren't truth. As time progressed, I started realizing that the person that I really am was already on the inside. Right. And so what I'm really now beginning to manifest is the person that's on the inside.
Right.
So one of the benefits of being able to take that journey of self-discovery is that not only are you clear about who you are, but most importantly, you're clear about who you're not.
Huh.
I like that.
Very, very clear about who
Oh,
you're
I
not.
like that.
And so when you become clear about who you are, there's no more struggle.
Right.
There's no more putting on. There's no more pretending. There's no more need to fake it till you make it. I hate that. I hate that magic.
I hate
so
that.
bad.
I hate it too.
You can become your most authentic self when you've discovered the real person that you are.
Right.
And you can become confident enough to live that out.
Right.
And in spite of the challenges that might come, like what you're saying, because you're clear about this is who you are and this is the pathway that you're going to be heading on, it makes it so much easier because there's no need to impress anybody. There's no need to pretend with anybody. This is who I am.
Right.
So that's the benefit of taking that journey. And at the end of the day, you really cannot manifest your purpose if you don't find out who you are.
Right.
You cannot live on purpose. You cannot become the person that you were placed in the earth to become if you don't take the time to discover who you are. You will not discover what your vision is, what God's plans are for your life. And tell you what, let me take it a step further. The resources that are needed to help you in life, they're tied to your vision. Now, if you're over in Miami-Dade County doing whatever you think is supposed to be your life, and what God has planned for you is in Broward County, where do you think your resources are going to be?
Broward County.
Broward. So you're in Miami-Dade struggling.
Yes.
Struggling. I see your face. What's going on? Struggling, and God is saying, bro,
Go to Broward.
go to Broward.
Right.
Take the journey to find out what your gifts are, what your passions are, what your bent is, what it is that you've been put here to do. Go to Broward. Because if you don't go to Broward, it's not only about you, Amina, or Kim. It's about the lives of the other people that are connected to you.
Right.
So if I'm out of position, you know what happens? I wouldn't be sitting in your room this evening talking to your listeners, and there's possibly somebody who's going to be listening to what I'm saying here, and one thing is going to activate or spark something inside of that person to get them to move to the next level. If I'm not in position, then I'm literally cutting off the destinies of other people.
Wow.
That is true.
So self-discovery is not just about you. It's about the generations that are connected to you. So it is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Now that is a mighty word right there, y'all. I mean, it's only been 17 minutes. Oh, okay, okay. And I just want to for those of you who are just now tuning in, that power pack voice you're hearing right now is
Punch.
Minister Georgia Bryce. And once again today we're talking about self-discovery, purpose, and thinking and acting like a leader. And this is just the beginning.
Yep.
So I mean,
We
I
might have
hope
to-
you
we might have to
I'm
do part
just,
two,
you know,
because,
y'all
yeah.
put on your seatbelts if you forgot to buckle up, because I already just, you know, feel it. All right, so we're gonna get right back on into it. Okay.
Okay.
Alright.
All right, so that's just a little bit of what self-discovery is about. The organization that I manage for my Heavenly Father, Building According to Pattern, one of the things that it's geared towards really, or what is central to it are five pillars, I like to call them. Everything I do focuses on these 5 pillars. If you call me in to be a keynote speaker, you're going to get it. If you come to my workshop or my seminar, you're going to get it. You come to my professional coaching or personal or professional coaching development sessions, you're going to get it.
Right.
I talk about self-discovery because that's where everything begins.
Right.
I talk about purpose. I talk about vision. I talk about leadership. And I talk about legacy. All of those things are central, and it doesn't matter what it is that you present to me to do somewhere along the line, because that is at the core of who I am. It is going to come out. It's going to be tying into whatever it is that you're asking me to do. So we talked a little bit about self-discovery. Let's go into the whole concept of leadership and purpose, because I know that's two of the other things that you said that you wanted me to share a little bit on. I chose to select the definition of leadership by my late mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe. Not because I'm biased. I am to a certain degree. But let me read exactly what Dr. Miles had to say about leadership. He said, leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration that's motivated by passion, that's generated by a vision, produced by conviction, and ignited by purpose. Interesting. Let me say it again.
Yep.
Leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration that's motivated by passion, generated by a vision, produced by conviction, and ignited by purpose. It's not so much the structuring of the sentence or the statement why I gravitate to this particular definition, but it's just the words that are in it. And I want to highlight a couple of the words, because if we were to read it backwards, leadership involves influencing people.
Right.
If you're not influencing people, you're not really leading. It's like you're taking a walk, somebody said. You're not really influencing people. But what it is that influences people is you're inspiring them.
Okay.
So when people feel inspired, they're inspired by your radio talk show.
Right.
That's why they spend their evenings at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock on a Wednesday to do what? To tune in, because you're inspiring them, right?
Right.
And you're influencing them, and you're bringing in people, special guests to speak to them and to influence them. Okay. Now, in order for people to be inspired, it really is what you're passionate about that draws people to you.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if people see you being passionate about something and you're excited about it, then that makes them become curious, and they also become passionate and excited about it too. So that's what's going to be inspiring them. Now, your vision is what comes in to generate that passion. If you don't have a vision, then what is it you're going to create passion over?
Right.
I've discovered what my vision is. That's why I get up every day and I do what I do. You've discovered what your vision is. That's why you get up every day and you do what you do. That's why nothing comes between you and Girl Talk on a Wednesday afternoon at 6, right? You will sacrifice everything to make sure that you're here because you've discovered your vision. That's what's driving that passion, and it's the passion that's inspiring the people and that's influencing them to follow you. That makes sense?
Yeah, I love that definition and where you're going with that, because I think a lot of times people think with leadership, it only just falls with like you got to be like a pastor or like some type of like position.
Absolutely.
like that. But like you're saying, it could just, you can be a leader based on the fact that you're influencing and inspiring.
You're inspiring.
It's not so much as it being like some really big position.
No.
But you can take the lead more than just in like ways like that. You don't have to be the president.
You don't have to have a platform to
right.
lead.
Exactly.
You don't have to have a platform to lead. No, vision is really a picture of your purpose. You're clear on what your purpose is, and it's like you have you have it mapped out, because that's what the vision is. I can see what it is I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I'm seeing how I'm going to be getting it done. That's the vision, right? So it's a picture. It's like your picture in your purpose in pictures or in colors, and then it's your purpose. When you're clear on what your purpose is, then you become convinced or convicted that there is something that you've been put in the earth to do to make a difference. Your purpose speaks to your why. It's why you're here.
Amen.
The purpose of a desk is for us to put things on it and write. Everything has a purpose. The purpose is the why. So now when you're clear about what your why is or what your purpose is, then you're convicted to do what you're doing. You become passionate about it, and as a result of that passion, people are inspired and they're influenced to follow you. You see how I just kind of turn things backward?
Yeah.
No, here's the caveat. If you don't go through that process of self-discovery, there is no way to know what your purpose is.
Right.
And if you don't know what your purpose is, you cannot inspire people. And if you can't inspire people, you will not influence people. And so that makes your leadership ineffective. So if I were to marry the two things together, I would simply say that leadership is really self-discovery. When you've discovered yourself as an individual, who you are, what your purpose is, why you're here, the impact that you need to have on your generation and probably generations to come, then you become a leader. So that's why that definition that you just explained about, holding a position or a title, that's why that is just totally dismantled. It doesn't matter whether you have a position in the natural or not. When you have discovered yourself and your purpose, then you become a leader. That's where leadership is formed.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, whether you're leading other people or not, you are responsible for leading at least one person. Who do you think that is? That's yourself.
That's yourself, yeah.
No, whether you're doing a good job of it, it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
That's why self-discovery is important, because the more you get to know yourself, the more you're able to move in your core values and become the person that you're supposed to be. All right. So I'm gonna be, as I know you specifically said that you wanted us to talk about self-discovery, leadership, and purpose, but everything is coming together.
Yes, and if there's, because you mentioned legacy, and if there's some other areas you want to flow in, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Because it just seems like everything is all connecting.
Yes.
And we want to hear it.
Everything. Well, I've somewhat touched on self-discovery portion. I've talked a little about leadership. I've talked about purpose. I've talked about vision. Legacy that's the end game. It's a thing that you're going to be remembered for.
Right.
You are responsible for finding out what that legacy is. Because that's what you're going to, it's almost like the legacy is that wall. That's where I'm heading. No, when it's very clear what my legacy is, what I want to be remembered for, then my responsibility now is to spend the rest of my life working towards establishing that legacy. I remember when I was going through the mentoring program with Dr. Miles Monroe, we had to write a legacy statement for our lives. When I die, that's how the statement started off. Very depressing, right? But when I die, this is what I'll be remembered for.
Right.
I'm going to be remembered for this and that and that and that and that. The books that I've written, blah, 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 blah. At that time, I didn't even write a book. I never even had a book in my mind. But because I was able to write that legacy statement out for myself, guess what? It evoked the stuff inside of me to start doing what I had written on paper. Now I have a book that's coming out.
Now it's in black and white, so it's like,
there you go.
I gotta.
I think it's something about when you write something
Absolutely.
down. It just gives it just makes it real.
It comes alive. It comes alive. He always said to us that if it's in your mind, it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
But the moment you put it on paper, that's the game changer.
Right.
Because you're putting that thing in front of you every day, the vision, and that's what's going to inspire to get up and start doing some things with it.
You're right, because then when you write it down, you're going to be like, ooh, am I lying to myself when I wrote this down? Oh, no, I got to make sure I get that done. Okay, check.
Yes.
Check.
Yes.
Check. Okay, I did that.
Yes.
Okay.
And writing that vision down ensures that you're held accountable.
Yeah, it's like a contract.
With yourself.
You feel convicted when you look at it and you're not doing what's on that paper that you wrote down. So you're going to get on the ball.
Yes.
That's that contract. You got to fulfill that contract. Or else you're going to get fined. So I'm going to.
That's absolutely true. So so legacy is the end game. Legacy is a thing that you're going to be remembered for. Legacy is the impact that you're going to have. And I think the average person really goes through life not understanding that he or she has been placed on earth to do something extraordinary.
Right.
No, the extraordinary doesn't necessarily have to be like becoming the president of the United States. But again, if you don't do what you need to do, put it this way, I usually think about Billy Graham. Billy Graham is probably the most dynamic evangelist that has ever graced this earth. Maybe one of. In our generation at least, because we have him, right? You know who I always think? I don't think too much about Billy Graham. You know what I think about? I think about the person who witnessed to Billy Graham. The person who encouraged him to give his heart to the Lord. We don't even know who that person is. But tell you what, if he was not in position to do that, we probably would not have heard of Billy Graham.
Right.
And so that's why it's important for each one of us, every one of us, to understand that each of us has something of value and importance to contribute to our generation. One of the reasons why society is the way it is, one of the reasons why there is so much anger and rage and violence and mayhem and confusion, and especially amongst our young people, is because they're not clear on what their vision is. They don't even know that they're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And when purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. That's something that our mentors always said, and it's absolutely true. When you don't know that you are of value, when you don't know that there is something that you've come to the earth with, packaged to serve in your generation, to have an impact, then you're going to live vicariously. And most people will leave this life, unfortunately, not discovering themselves, not finding out what their purpose is, not fulfilling their vision. And it's sad. And, they always say the only thing that will remind us that that person was on earth is when you go to the graveyard and you see a tombstone.
Wow.
It's serious. So that's why it's so important that the people that are listening in this evening, you didn't just tune in, just, you want to hang with your girls, Kim, and you want to kick it with them or whatever it is. It's good. It's good to show support. But I really want to, if there's anything I want to leave in the minds of your audience, is that you're not just going through life. You're not just here to go through the motion or just go through the routine. There is something of value that you're supposed to deposit here before you die. And here's a clincher to all of this. The longer you take to figure this thing out is the more time you waste, Amina, because if you're supposed to check out of here at 61 years old and you discover your purpose at 60,
ouch.
You know what happens, right?
Yeah.
You got 1 year.
Yeah. Pretty much. So we don't have time to waste. We really don't. We need to get on the ball to find out why we're here. No, you can't know why you're here independent of your source. And when I share this in the schools, and we talk a lot about evolution. That's one theory. We all evolved from some amoeba, and black people evolved from monkey. And I've always asked the question, have you ever seen a human being having a discussion with a monkey? And have you ever heard the monkey respond? I remember one student said to me the other day, she was like, well, there is some research being done right now, and there's a monkey that they're teaching sign language, and he's able to respond. And I'm like, then how long do I sit and wait until he gets everything? I might be dead by the time that monkey figures out how to speak my language. Right.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? So now there are people who do subscribe to the idea of evolution. I'm not going to knock you. But the problem for me is this. I cannot go to a monkey to find out why I'm here.
Right.
A monkey cannot talk to me and tell me why I am here. A monkey cannot reveal to me what are my potentials, what I'm capable of doing. A monkey does not know that 10 years ago I was just an engineer, and then 10 years later I was going to become a marriage and family therapist. The monkey couldn't tell me that.
Right.
So you cannot find out or discover yourself independent of the person who placed you here or the manufacturer who designed you. Right? So if you, for example, you have a nice car and your car broke down, are you going to go to a plumber to get your car fixed? Are you going to go to a trucker to get your car fixed? Are you going to go to a clothes designer to get your car fixed? Who are you going to go to? You're going to go to the dealership.
Right.
You're going to take your car right back to where you bought it because they know what the problem is.
Yeah.
They know what is out of order. They know what parts are needed. It's the same thing with God.
Right.
He is your source. He is the only person that is able to say to you, Amina, Kim, this is why I put you here. These are the things that I've deposited in you so that you can have an impact on the people that are in your generation and generations to come. He's the only one person that's able to reveal that to you.
Right.
And what we've spent time doing is that we're looking to people to tell us who we are. Or we're looking to an educational system. Or we're looking to getting degrees. And I'm all for degrees, but tell you what, all education does for me is activate something that's already on the inside.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter whether you have a degree or not. It's irrelevant. The bottom line is you came here with a purpose and you need to spend the rest of your life figuring out what that purpose is and pursuing it.
Now, for those people out there who feel like they can, there's a lot of people who they don't like you to bring in, God as the source. They feel like, they can figure it out on their own. Now, what would you say to those people out there who maybe they feel like, they are somewhat satisfied or content with where they are as far as what they're doing already, and they don't have that relationship with God? Can you be under the impression that you found your purpose because you maybe feel satisfied with what you're doing already in life, but at the same time, only God can make that clear to us who we really are and what we were here for, even though you may somewhat feel content with what you're doing?
Absolutely.
What do you say to someone who maybe they don't, feel like how you were feeling when you were doing the engineer? They feel, I think I'm good. I think I'm happy. But at the same time, that's really not what God purposed them here on the earth to do.
Okay. So it goes back to that whole concept of me saying there are versions of ourselves that exist.
Ooh.
They're versions of yourself that exist. And the truth of the matter is, you really won't embark on that journey of self-discovery until you get tired of the version that you're dealing with. Until you become frustrated with that version that you're dealing with. I wouldn't have gone into the mentoring program if I was okay being an engineer. No, I didn't trigger that on my own. I really believe that the Holy Spirit triggered that thing to get me to become frustrated, that I was like, okay, God, this is not it. There has to be something else. And I pressed into him to ask and to find out what exactly you want me to do. For the person who is in the place of contentment, there really isn't anything that you can do except introduce the information. And in the moment, it's possible that it's not something that will be received, but it's information that they already have. And there might come a time, maybe not today or tomorrow, maybe a few years from now, when they do get into that place of, you know what, I just think that there's more.
Right.
Okay.
I think I've peaked out at where I'm at, and I'm feeling that stirring on the inside of me that there is more, and I want to go discover that more. That's the time when they're ready. Until then, there really isn't anything that can be done. There are people who have tapped into their gifts, but can you imagine if they've tapped into their gifts independent of God? But can you imagine if they had that God factor, how far they could have gone, how far they could go? So you're here at this level because you're on your own, you're doing your own thing, and it's working for you. Can you imagine if you were to become your most authentic self? The sky is the limit.
Yeah.
No, are you satisfied with just being at the level where you're at when there's so much more potential to you?
Nope.
And that's why, again, the graveyard, like my previous mentor always said, is loaded with people who came fully packaged with so much gifts to give, but they never ever took the time to discover it, or they probably were too lazy, or they just couldn't be bothered, or they didn't mind living a mediocre life. Because there's some people who are like that. They're okay.
They're okay.
And if it works for you, power to you. But I'm not like that. I'm one of the crazy ones. I'm the one who wants to know. I want to do everything I'm supposed to do. I want to give everything I'm supposed to give. I want to meet all the people I'm supposed to meet. Whatever it is, I want it, so that when I get to the stage where it's time for me to check out of here, I can sit back and say with contentment, I did everything I was supposed to do. Because that's the most important thing as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. And you know, I want to just add to what you're saying about that frustration. I think that the frustration is so good.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's I believe sometimes when you experience that frustration, it's also on a flip side of that, like a sign that you're now ready for God to reveal to you who you are.
Yes.
You know, I think when I've experienced like just that frustration, because it pushes you to that place where, like you're saying, you're gonna really cry out to God.
Absolutely.
And like, Lord, you gotta show me what this is, who I am, where I'm really supposed to be. Because in reality, you're ready to now deliver, to give birth. Because it reminds me of Dr. Cindy Trim is always saying that a lot of times as Christians we confuse really those
birth pangs,
the birth pains, contractions with spiritual warfare. But in reality, that frustration and going crazy like that, like a pregnant woman, is because it's time for her to deliver. It's time to give birth, and it's not that you're really under a demonic attack. You're just really contracting, having she calls it heavenly contractions or something like that. So the frustration is actually good, because it is a sign that you're now ready.
Absolutely. So. No, it's funny that you kind of dragged me a little bit further into.
I did.
Hey, no, you know what? So the name of my book, I've not put it out there. This is the first time I'm going to publicize what the name of my book is. Set to debut.
You're getting it here first on Girl Talk.
Girl Talk. The name of my book that is set to debut on at my leadership summit on June 24th, 2017 is called On Your Way to Meeting You, The Journey That Changes Everything. And it talks a lot. It's self-discovery is very central to it, and you would never believe this, Amina. The very first chapter is entitled Psst, Frustrated? Maybe God's trying to tell you something.
Ooh, jeez. We just all over your book.
You just all over my stuff. But that's where it starts. We have a concept or an idea of frustration that is not accurate.
Wow.
Frustration really is birth pangs. It really is. And if you're not experiencing frustration, it means that you're settling where you are and there is nothing else that you're looking for to do. There's nothing that you're aspiring towards or whatever it is. Frustration comes to signal that it's time to be birthed out of one dimension to the next. Or from one level to the next.
Right.
And one of the persons that I truly admire in scripture is Anna, Samuel's mom.
Right.
Because she demonstrates perfectly to us what you do when frustration shows up, when that level of frustration shows up.
Yes.
So instead of losing her mind or freaking out or committing suicide or tearing her hair out or whatever it is, entering into a space of pity party or depression, what she did was that she leveraged frustration to drive her into the presence of God.
Right.
And gave birth to not only a very powerful prophet and priest, but a kingmaker, Samuel. Right. And so sometimes we're thinking that frustration is here to take us out. No, it's not. Frustration is indicating to you that there is more.
Yes.
That's all it is.
That is
Your response, though, is very, very crucial.
Yes, it is.
Very, very crucial. When I was going through what I was going through, my own processing to get me to where I am now, I was struggling with a lot of frustration. But I had to learn to harness that frustration in prayer to drive me to where I am right now. And on the other side of frustration, I gave birth to a vision.
Wow.
That's good. That is really, really good. And that really speaks, because once we figure out that we can't worry about what society say that we are, I think your birth could be, when you give birth, it could be a lot easier.
Of course.
Because, when I get frustrated,
Well, we get frustrated.
Oh, God. I can't even. When I get frustrated, and now that I get I start to speak in tongues now. When I get frustrated and I speak in tongues, I feel that release. And once I get that release, and I have this thing, and that, Amina, once I put that pen to paper, I can't stop writing, right? So I just start writing and writing and writing, and then my husband is like, "Why you have all this paper?" I'm like, don't you throw that paper away.
Sounds like books in the making as far as I'm concerned.
Books.
Yes.
I'm writing so much different titles, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, what is this? Okay, this one, can I finish this one first, Lord? But it's like all over the place. And then I remember this lady was like, "Are you going to write songs?" And I'm like, what? I don't even think nobody gonna listen to a song that I write. I'm like, what? Me? I can't write no songs. But then, I'll be sitting there and I'll just be talking to God and I'll just be singing. And I'll be like, wait, oh my gosh, that's a song. Give me the pen. And I start writing it down. That's the thing, though. With us, when God gives us something, we need to either write it down or try to hold on to what He says, because the enemy is gonna work after that. He's going to say, "Oh, you don't got that vision. That ain't what it is." Then he tried to put something else in your mind. But then you have to be stuck to what God says. I wrote it down. This is what He said. It's in black and white now. You can't change that.
Amen.
And with the enemy, he does this a lot. He
Absolutely.
talks a lot.
Absolutely.
With God, He's just straightforward, like I said. Just tell you what it is, and that's that. He doesn't keep talking.
And one of the other things, I want to piggyback a little bit on what you just said a while ago. Apart from the enemy coming in to, whisper in your ears to get you off track or whatever it is, one of the things that I think we also have to be very, 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 very mindful of is that ideas hang over us. So when an idea comes, if you don't capitalize on that idea, what do you think is going to happen? It's almost like the sower who went out to sow the seeds. He just threw seeds wherever they landed. That's just where it landed.
Right.
If you don't capitalize on that idea the moment it shows up and do something with it, somebody else is going to run with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. You'll see it later on.
You'll see it later on.
That book, girl.
Yes,
my idea.
Yes. So the ideas are there for the taking. It doesn't matter who gets it. It's whoever gets it and moves with it.
Right.
That's something is gonna come out of it. Right. But if it comes, if it's coming, you need to do something with it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You absolutely need to do something with it.
Yeah. It's just like having this new car. You just have it parked there. You gotta do something with it. Just look, oh, it just looked good right there. We should have left it on the lot.
Drive the car.
You should have left it on the lot then and just go and look at it every day. You shouldn't have purchased it then.
You have to do something with it.
You have to do
something with the gifts and the talents and the abilities and the passions that you've been given. You have to.
Right. Absolutely. Because then it'll just be a big waste.
Yes. And you're affecting other people's lives in the process.
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing anything, then that sequence of events that needs to occur because you did what you need to do, if you don't do what you need to do, then it affects the other person whose life is connected to you.
True.
So it's not about you.
Because, you know, speaking of that, oh gosh, let's talk about Bible study. All right. Pastor, like, he was talking about, like, the gifts that we have is for the body.
Right.
It's not for us, because then when I have the gift of singing and, like, worshiping, praise and worship. So if I don't show up, if I'm not the first one there to do praise and worship, when I come in, everybody's going to be sitting there, oops, no praise and worship. So then I'm not bringing the body to where it needs to be.
Right.
Because praise and worship is what gets the spirit flowing, and then you get ready to receive the word.
Right.
Amen.
Because then when the spirit is not, what you say, when it's not marinate, when you don't marinate the chicken and you just fry the chicken and you don't marinate it, it ain't going to be good.
Right.
It ain't no seasoning.
Right.
So then I'm the seasoning.
Right.
So I got to season it up. Right?
Right.
Season it up in there and let that marinate right quick.
Right.
So then you could, when you receive that word and then hit you and you bit into that chicken and it's like, ooh. You know what I mean?
I got you. You're right.
So it's
you
like,
have to be in position.
It's not for
You
you.
have to be in position.
It's not for you, because everything that we do is to win souls. It's not for you. It's not for you. And what I don't do, I can't influence someone else.
Amen.
Maybe somebody's right there on that ledge and I'm like, girl, once I minister, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get off this ledge.
Right.
What if you, because of not having your gifts and showing it, then that person just jumped?
Absolutely.
Because they needed you at that moment. But guess what? Hey, I'm comfortable where I'm at. Blood is on your shoulders.
No,
And
it's serious. It's very, very serious.
I think that the enemy is really good at trying to cause us to think that us playing our part and being in position is not that important.
Right.
You can easily just say, like Kim, you're saying praise and worship, like, well, somebody else can just get up there and just, you should have your own praise and worship. If you really a worshiper, you should have been worshiping before you got there. And, me being there to sing and do what I need to do is not that important. But it is important.
Absolutely.
Because I love where you're going, where, it's so important that we're playing our part to influence and inspire others, because what we've been placed here to do and purpose to do, it's not just about us.
It's never about you.
Right. It's supposed to affect others.
Right.
And if I have this lazy mentality, what God has called me to do, I mean, it's really not that important. If I'm just all over the place and don't, it's not that serious for me to play my part.
You've been given.
Right.
You can't. We keep you go through scriptures and you see it. We keep rehearsing about that little boy that had the two. What is it? A two.
Once you realize that, once you stop trying to be, oh God, I'm gonna hurt some feelings. When you stop trying to be like everyone else and be yourself, then you can really tap into your true potential.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like just because you see that Amina is a prophet, and then maybe, she, is a prophet, so everybody know, okay, I go to the prophet. And you don't know what that person have to go through to be a prophet.
Ooh, yes.
So then listen, prophets live a lonely life. I don't know if I could be lonely. You know what I mean? So then it's like, okay, can you take on that responsibility of being a lonely person? No. So he's not going to give you something that he knows that you can't handle.
Right.
Amen.
If he feels like, Kim, you're going to do praise and worship, Kim going to do praise and worship. Okay? Because guess what? That's what he knows that I can do. And guess what? Sometimes you don't just get one gift. You get more than one. You have multiple. A lot of people, we all here could be prophets, but just one person could have a higher level than the other one, but we all are prophets. God show us things. He show us all things. All of us are prophets. He shows us things. We have visions. I have visions. Sometimes I'll be sitting there staring and people be looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm seeing something. And why is the car so quiet then? Why are you not playing the music? Because I need to hear what God has to say. And I'm going to need you to be quiet. Okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and this is, could be my personal opinion, but
go ahead.
I am a firm believer that everything that you are, everything that you are supposed to be, you come fully packaged with it already.
Oh, you do.
I agree.
And so if you are aware of that,
Right.
then all the other stuff is irrelevant. I don't have to be you.
Yeah.
I don't have to try to be you, because inherent in Georgia Bryce is Georgia Bryce.
Right.
Is everything I'm supposed to be. All the gifts are already there. All the talents are already there. Everything is already there. I don't have to fight to become somebody else. All I'm responsible for doing is becoming myself.
Absolutely.
That takes out the competition.
Yeah.
And I think that's like in a nutshell why we just say just stay in your lane. You know,
Find yourself and stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
And
you
stop
will
trying
never
to be a robot.
Exactly.
Okay.
You will never feel the need to be competitive and compete with anyone else once you've really discovered who you are and discovered your lane.
Yeah.
And you guys, we do have about 9 minutes left, so we are going to start wrapping it up. And Minister Georgia Bryce also has some goodies, some announcements, upcoming events that we do want to have the time for her to share. And we're going to close it out in prayer. Can you go ahead and just close us out just with, your last final thought, and then let us know about those upcoming events?
Absolutely. Just again to remind everybody of, as we've been talking, the value of finding out who you are.
Right.
The real person that you are. Because we need you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we need you. We need the real you to show up.
Absolutely.
Because whatever it is that you have to impart to us, that small thing, you might think it's irrelevant or it's insignificant. In the eyes of God, it's not. That's why you're here.
Right.
That's why He put you in the earth. You are an answer to a situation.
Yeah.
You are the solution to a problem. And you walking around thinking that you're not important or you're not relevant or what you have to offer is insignificant. That's not true. Those thought processing, they're not from God. They're from Satan.
Ooh, yeah.
So we need you to show up. We need you to be you. We need to find out. We need you to find out who you are. If you're struggling in that area, you need to have a conversation with God.
Yeah.
Because the longer it takes for you to get in position, you're holding up the processing for so many other people.
Yep.
Your life is not irrelevant. It's not insignificant. You are here for a reason.
Yep.
Amen.
Find out what that is and start serving.
Yep.
Okay, so with that being said, I just wanted to take this time again to just quickly remind, I have been advertising it on social media. For those who are on Facebook and LinkedIn, they've probably seen a couple of flyers going up, but I do have a 4-part workshop series that's going to be coming up starting on May 6th. It's a series that I had it done before. Sometime last year, between October and December of last year. The workshop is called Starting at Start, Locating the Push Button for Your Vision. It was outstanding. I had a few people that were a part of it. Some people have gone on to launch their own business. I had one person who was playing around making jewelry just for fun. She incorporated her business. She set up her business bank account this week.
Whoa.
I ain't gonna put her name out there, but I'm just saying. I had another person who was working for an organization for about 20 years. She wanted to go start her private practice as a mental health professional. Homegirl is gonna launch her business in June.
Oh, wow.
So when you see me put this stuff out on Facebook, it's no joke. It's real serious business. So we're going to be talking about starting at start, locating the push button for your vision. And it's for those people who have a vision. And it's for people who don't know what their vision is. If you come to the sessions, it's going to be 4 parts. The first one is going to be on May 6th. It's entitled The Book Starts With Me. We're going to talk a little bit about self-discovery, potential, finding your identity, establishing your identity, etc. The next one is going to be on May 13th. We're going to talk about legacy, which we were talking about today, starting with the end in mind. When you're clear about where you're going, what the end game is, then you know how to govern yourself to make sure what you see is where you go. The next session is going to be on May 20th. It's vision, clarifying what I see. And I've always maintained that how you see is more important than what you see. So those are some of the concepts that we're going to be bringing forth. And then the final session is going to be on June 3rd. and it's push that start button. There's no point in you writing down all these wonderful ideas and you're mapping your vision and blah 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 blah, and you don't do anything with it.
Right. Yeah.
You got to do something with it. And
I
so,
like that title.
yeah, I'm happy that the people who came to the event not only came, but they did something with what they got. And so the sessions are very, I probably do a PowerPoint presentation for about 45 minutes, and then the remaining half an hour to 45 minutes, we have a booklet. There is a complimentary book that's going to be coming with the sessions. They're all questions, and you are forced to sit and write.
Ooh.
You have to write. So it's not a regular workshop where you come and you just throw money at me. I don't want your money. I'd like to get paid. But if you're not going to do something with the information that you're getting, I don't entertain people like that. I'm very, very clear on that. The best way you could repay me is that 365 days from now, your life is in a totally different place.
Right.
That's what I want to see happen. So if you have any questions about that, the event is listed on Facebook. You could also go to Eventbrite. You type in locating the push button and it will come up. Or you could go directly to my website. That's batpllc.com, short for Building According to Pattern LLC, and the event is there. You could register on my website. The second event, which is what you were flashing, is the Leadership Summit that is going to take place on June 24th. This is my second annual event. The last year we had the first one. It was entitled Leading Without Limits. This year the title is Enlarging Your Territory, Expanding Your Reach. It's going to be on the 24th of June at the Hampton Inn in downtown Las Olas. I have an exciting lineup. The speakers are outstanding and phenomenal in their own areas. Everybody has their different background, but each of these leaders that are going to be present, they have a story to tell. And I really am looking to target those people who are probably looking to do personal and professional development, as well as people who want to go into business, because all of these people on this flyer, they're business owners. They're able to share with you the ins and outs of what they had to do to get to where they are. And what I like about each one of these leaders is that they've arrived at a certain place, but they haven't stopped.
Wow.
They're expanding. It's enlarging your territory, expanding your reach. As far as you could see, that's what you're going to get. And so they're going to be able to talk to you about that. And then finally, I also want to announce, I said it earlier on, at this event, the Leadership Summit, I am going to be launching my book. My first book, first of many international bestsellers, okay?
First of
many.
Ooh, yes.
Entitled On Your Way to Meeting You, The Journey That Changes Everything. So I'm going to encourage everybody, if you have not gone onto the Eventbrite page or the Facebook page, please check out the events that are coming up. Register early. The Me Revolution Leadership Summit, there is a special that's going on right now, a limited early bird special for $45. You need to get it while it lasts because it's going to end on the 31st. If you have any questions, please feel free. Give me a call, 786-471-8312. Again, it's 786-471-8312, or email me at info@batpllc.com, and I'll make sure that Amina has this thing put up on our website or on our Facebook page for those who are interested.
And I'm putting it in the number in the chat as well, so
Awesome.
you guys copy and paste it.
Awesome. All right, and that's it for me.
All right. So you guys, I know you've been blessed by today's discussion. I feel like starting a business tonight.
Girl,
I don't know about
I'm
you.
going home to finish my book.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I've been inspired. All right. So we are going to go ahead and close it out in prayer. I'm going to go ahead and just shut down Facebook Live. We're going to go ahead and just take a quick little praise break, and we'll be right back to close it on out in prayer. So you guys just stay tuned in.